I look at this and I go, everybody could do this on the side. She does this on the side. And now you get to pick and choose, like, when do you want to make the $8,000 today? When do you want to make the $3,000 today? And when do you want to learn the skill of raising the capital and owning the asset? And you know, when I figured this out, nobody taught me this. I had to go through years and years of owning that I'm like, wow, I'm making more money this way than I was on the cash flow. Guys, we just made a mess of this whiteboard breaking down a sub-2 wholesale deal. So have you ever asked the question of, can I wholesale a sub-2 deal? Well, check it out. We had the seller on this deal that made 20 grand as a down payment. We're gonna break down all the numbers here in a minute. There was zero agent, thank God for that. Sorry, agents, sometimes you guys really make things hard. There was Luciano and Jackson, our sub-2 community members that were direct to seller. They made $19,800 assigning it to Ingrid Hernandez, who is right here. One of our leaders in sub-2, she made $8,000 assigning it to Eric, who is holding the camera. Eric assigned it to me, and I ended up putting in my portfolio. So not only can you wholesale a sub-2 deal, but you can do it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Everybody can make a bunch of money, which is awesome. And today we're gonna break down why this is a good deal. And more importantly, I'm going to have Eric, who made $3,000 on the assignment, break down these numbers as best he can. So stay tuned. Eric, how much are you making on this deal?
$3,000 for being a JV with Ingrid.
What do you think a new person wants to know on YouTube?
I mean, for me, it's like, how do you find these? How do you come across them?
Where'd this one come from?
You and everybody else is like, you gotta go find deals. So I'm like, okay, well, I know Pace has a free Facebook group. So I went into there and was just looking through people's posts. I saw someone post a deal that was like a duplex in Mesa, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. So I drive down the street from my house.
So this is how your $3,000 was made.
Correct.
Is that you found it in the Facebook group?
Correct.
Why is this a good deal for me? Why would Pace buy this deal? What are my 5 reasons I buy deals are right there. Why would I buy the deal?
The biggest thing that I knew would be good for you is for depreciation for tax purposes.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
That means that...
but like, give me the number. Don't describe depreciation to me. How much am I getting?
It would be, what is it, is it the purchase price, correct?
My total amount that I'm into the deal when I close escrow.
Okay.
Okay. So when I close escrow, I'll be into the deal $535,000 because I've got closing costs. So $535,800.
Okay, yeah. So you can depreciate that, and that's.
Well, what does that mean? Give me the thing on the empty space. Type in 535, and what's my math equation? What does the IRS allow me to divide it into? So take your 535,800, divide by 27.5. What's that number?
You got it pulled up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
19,483.64.
Okay, so what does that mean exactly? That means I can go make $19,483 in a different business.
Correct.
Or even in cash collected in my rental business, and that $19,483 will offset that income, right?
Yearly.
Yearly.
Yes.
Which means for 27 and a half years, I get that benefit.
Yes.
Cool. Now let's come up with the actual number. What does that actually mean to me? I will, in my first year, I will accelerate that 7 years. So let's multiply that 19,483 by 7. What's that number?
136,385.45.
Okay. Now, why is that significant? Well, I can make 136,385 in my Start Virtual business or my other businesses, and that 136 will basically wipe out 136 on the other side, right? So it's counterbalance.
Yes.
Is that bonus depreciation? So
Accelerated, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it the same, like where you can only get 80% this year?
This year I get 80%, yeah. Okay, so in 2023, they have a new rule. You only get 80% of that benefit when you do it. So now you have to divide that by 0.8 or multiply that by 0.8. I used to be able to get 100% of it. Now I can only get 80% of it. So what is that number?
109, 108.
109, 108, 36. In my tax bracket, which is 43%, how much money will I actually save this year by buying that property? So we got to do one more calculation.
Yeah.
Multiply that by 0.43. And that will be the real dollars that I will save. So 46,916, that amount of money right there So when you're over $500,000 a year in income, your tax bracket is at an all-time high, right? Somewhere around 43%. So 109,000 of that just got wiped out at a 43% tax bracket, which means I avoided paying real taxes this year of $46,916. So everybody else is looking at cash flow. I'm looking at that. I want to keep my money. Remember, a very important thing is it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep.
Correct.
Because I've seen a lot of people make really good money. Like you've made great money maybe as a bartender, you make a ton of money in cash, in tips, and then you go on a vacation, you're like, yeah, I made a lot of money, but I didn't keep it. I didn't invest it. I get to keep my money that I make and I reinvest it somewhere else instead of giving it to the IRS. The IRS doesn't know what they're doing with our money, right? The government doesn't know what they're doing with our money. They're over budget on every freaking thing. We're trillions of dollars in debt. Why would I give them more money? So I keep that $46,916. Now, everybody else is calculating, I'm making $200 a month on cash flow, which we'll get to that next. But the first thing that you brought up was depreciation. Okay, so let's look at this over a 5-year period. Now, Ingrid, what I want you to do is take that $46,916 and I want you to divide that by 60 months.
Okay, $781.93.
Okay, so what does that mean? That means this 1 year, my first year of owning this property, I get a $46,916 actual tax savings this year. And if I look at that tax savings over a 5-year span, because I'm going to look at all my benefits on a 5-year span, that means for 5 years straight, I get $781.93 of real dollars that I did not have to give to the IRS. So when people look at $200 of monthly cash flow, they're forgetting the fact that I'm getting way, literally nearly 500% more on a monthly basis because I bought it and I got tax benefits and I kept my money. Okay, so when somebody now says depreciation to you, you want to go total purchase price divided by the IRS's rule of 27.5 comes out with a number. You say, I want to take 7 of those years up front. That's called accelerated depreciation. So then I look at the actual tax savings, or the actual amount of tax benefit. After that calculation, I take it by my tax bracket, which saves me 46,000 whatever. And I say, all right, over 5 years, how much money do I save every single month? So when I have a problem on that house, let's say in 5 months, I don't go, man, this house isn't worth it because I only make $200 a month. You idiots that are doing the BRRRR strategy and thinking cash flow is the only thing, you're forgetting this one very, very important thing. When something bad happens on my property, I go, well, at least the money's going into repairing the property rather than going to the IRS. So even if something on month 5 ends up costing me $781 out of my pocket, did I really lose any money? Or did I just decide to put that money into my property rather than give it to the IRS? Does that make sense, or is that convoluting things?
No.
Now, I don't really, all I think about is like, oh, okay, cool, I saved $46,916 on my property. Perfect. And if nothing comes out of that property for 5 years, I've won. If I break even for 5 years, it doesn't appreciate, it doesn't pay any loan down, I don't get any equity growth or pay down, and I don't create a delta, I still got $781 a month in benefit by not giving it to Uncle Sam, who mismanages my money. I'm glad they restructured it for the cash flow. Ingrid was very smart for that. Molly was very smart for that because you do want a property that cash flows, but a lot of times people overthink it. They're like, oh, I'm getting a non-cash flowing property. I'm like, okay, but I also have some of my very, very, very good friends that you hang out with a lot that wrote a check to the IRS last year for $1.2 million. So what would you rather have? A break-even property but actual ownership of assets, or would you rather write a check for $1.2 million to the IRS?
Correct.
Right? So that's why we do that. So cash flow, tell me what my cash flow is. The numbers are on the board, by the way. Here's my 2 loans. I got a sub-2 loan here.
Yeah.
306,819 at 5.85%. Seems high, but when you blend it, okay, with a 0% at 173, it's a pretty good blended loan, right? My total.
This would be called a hybrid.
This is a hybrid deal, yeah.
For all you folks out there.
For all you folks out here, this is a hybrid deal. Okay. Part sub-2, part seller finance, called a hybrid, right? This is something that before I came along, nobody was doing it this way. Total PITI, so my total cost to the seller and the sub-2 loan is $25.58 I have total rent right now. I have tenants in there right now paying me $3,300 a month, and my gross cash flow is $743 per month. So how do we determine what my actual cash flow is? Because gross, remember the word gross is, I consider it literal. It's gross to me. I don't want to touch it. Mm-hmm. I want to know what's net. Net means in my pocket, right? My pocket is a net. What can I put in my pocket? My net. There's two things you have to consider after the 740. 740 is money I have, I just collected. But now I have responsibilities to pay after I have that 740.
Because you have to pay servicing company, correct?
Okay.
And then you also have to pay property management. Is there a third?
Yep, there's a third, big one. It's a big one. It's in red. It's in red on the board. I have to raise private capital.
Oh, yes.
And I have a private capital payment of 372. So let's do the math on this. Okay, my cash flow for year one, let's go what is it, 740?
40.
Okay, so 740, I'm gonna take out of my rent, okay? In that area, my team will manage it internally. Our budget, all that kind of stuff is total 10%, okay? But it's not of 740, what is it of? It's 10% of the rent rate goes to an bank account. Broken window. Our tenant's a piece of crap. They moved out. Something bad happened to the property.
$330.
$330. Make sense?
Yes. So that's 410.
Are you learning something?
Yes.
Okay, so I got 410 left. Wow. We have $38 left. Why? How did we get there? So I'm going to take my 372 off my 410, and my final number that I will have in my pocket after budget and private money lender is how much? $38 per month. So this property, with no money out of my pocket, I don't even have to pay for closing costs. My private money lender will do that. Will net me in my pocket $38 a month. And that is why most people will look at this deal and go, not a deal for me. Okay, well, let's talk about this. Ingrid, let's do some homework. Let's find out what is the average rent appreciation in Maricopa County over the last 5 years. Let's Google it. Okay, so it's averaging 2.5% a year, okay? So let's say that on year 3, I now have a 7.5% rent increase that I can go to my tenants on. My rent right now is $3,300. What's that times 0.075?
$247.50.
Cool. So in 36 months, I can raise my rents $250. Okay, and then 2 more years on my 5-year mark. I won't raise it. I'll just raise it once. So for 3 years, I'll make $38 times 36 months. Do that math for me. $38 times 36 months.
That is $1,368.
Okay, $1,368. Perfect. So my first year of cash flow is $38 times 12. What's $38 times 12?
$456.
Okay, $456. Okay, so $456 in my first year. But by the end of my 3rd year, I have $1,368. Now, from year 4 and year 5, I'm not just making my 38, but I've also raised it $250. So let's do 288 times 24 months.
$69.12.
Perfect. So add 6912 plus 1368. Should be 82.
$82.80.
Perfect. So my actual cash flow on this property over 5 years is $8,280. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You see what I did there? I start out for the first 36 months, I'm cash flowing at $38 a month. Multiply that by 36, I'm only made $1,368. Cool? That's also putting money to the side. I'm paying my private money lender. Everybody's getting paid. Everybody's happy. My remaining balance is $38 a month. I raise my rents on year 3. That's conservative. Usually you raise in Maricopa County every 2 years. And I only raise it 2.5%. If you looked at Maricopa County, our rent rate goes up like 7% a year. So if you're renting right now for $1,500, next year you're going to be renting for like $1,700. Okay, this is ultra conservative, $8,200 in 5 years. So most people look at this deal and they're surface level and they go, that's not a good deal. And I used to think that too, but then I wake up and I look at all my deals that I bought 5, 6, 7 years ago and I'm like, holy crap, I'm worth tens of millions of dollars because of the equity growth in this, right? So cash flow, not that great of a deal. However, let's look at appreciation. National appreciation over 100 years is what? National?
3%?
5%.
5%? Okay.
Compounding. Compounding. So let's do the math on this. 480 times 1.05 equals what?
504.
So after year one, this property will be worth 504. Now take 504 and multiply that by 0.05.
God.
504,000 times 1.05.
529,200.
Okay, 529. Cool. Now take that and multiply that by 1.05.
555.
555.
660.
660. Now multiply that by 0.105.
583.
583.
443.
And then last time?
612. 615.15.
So in 5 years, it goes up $132,000.
In 5 years, I made $132,000 while everybody else said that is not a good deal. That's assuming the national average over the last 100 years. Not Maricopa, which is one of the top 10 fastest growing cities in all of America. Let's just play it very conservatively.
Mm-hmm. You might also want to ask, because people are going to be asking like, well, what if it tanks?
This is why we did a national average over 100 years.
Correct.
I don't have a crystal ball. All I can tell you is that I can aggregate and collect all the last data for 100 years, average it, and go, this is how I look at my plan. Mm-hmm. And I go, this is why I hold property, and I stop thinking about it as cash flow, right? So I've already made 8,200 plus 132 plus 46,000, okay? Now let's look at the loan pay down.
Okay.
Ingrid, do me a favor. Mm-hmm. Let's do some math. So my total PITI is 25.58 and 1 penny. Mm-hmm. Okay. My seller finance portion of that.
400.
Oh, this is good. Yeah, my seller finance is 400 of that. Mm-hmm. Okay. And my principal on the other one is 345.14. Okay, so here's my principal out of that payment. 345 every month pays down that loan. Okay, and then on the seller finance lien, it's 400 at 0%. So how much of that 400% goes to pay it down? 0%, all of it, right? So how much is my tenant paying down my property every single?
$745.
$745 a month is paying down my debt. Mm-hmm. So let's take that $745 and multiply it by 60 months. $44,700 will go down on my debt in 5 years.
While your appreciation's going up.
Okay, so what's my delta? So that's where we take, number 5 is we take the loan pay down and we take the appreciation and we add it up. 178, 115. So if I wanted to be a millionaire, how many of these properties do I have to buy this year and wait for 5 years?
5.614.
Okay, so there we go. I know that if I buy 5.7 of these houses and I just wait for 5 years, the likelihood of me having a net worth of $1 million is like 99% certain.
That's why I've heard you and Cody say if the average person had 5 properties,
you're done.
You're set for life. You're good.
I mean, yeah. If the average person had, I wouldn't want to live on $1 million.
Well, no.
I want to make $1 million a month.
Speaking, you're not living in a shack. You're not homeless. You could live.
How many Americans are in America? Let's do this math. How much?
340,562,824.
Okay. And how many of them are millionaires? There's actually a lot more people than you guys think. 340 million Americans. How many Americans are millionaires?
5 million.
22.7 million.
Almost 1 in 8 or 1 in 12 people you talk to. 22 million people, basically.
Yeah, well, almost 23.
Take $22 million. Take 22 million and divide it by 340 million. Let's talk about what
percentage.
What percent of people?
I feel like it's also because like the perception of a millionaire hasn't changed since I was born. I'm like, oh, a millionaire, and then like a millionaire today, like it's way more obtainable.
Should be a 10 millionaire, a decamillionaire. Okay. Decamillionaire should be the millionaire that you and I used to think about.
Gotcha.
6.7%.
Wow. So 6.6% of people. So you meet 100 people, chances are 6.6 of them are millionaires. So it is a really challenging thing to get to.
Ooh, I Googled decamillionaires.
Okay, how many?
It says in 2020, estimated 1,826 are decas.
Now you've entered in a very significant.
That's the 1%. That's right.
It's not. It's less than 1%.
Yeah, that's like
well, let's do deca.
Yeah. So how many did they say?
1,826.
So now, but here's the thing, right? This is not even 1%. This is, what is the percentage? So it's 0.00000 half of a percent.
Yeah.
It's half of a percent are decamillionaires. So how do I become a decamillionaire? I have 50 of these and I wait 5 years. It's not that hard. I look at this and I go, everybody could do this on the side. She does this on the side. Right? And now you get to pick and choose, like, when do you want to make the $8,000 today? When do you want to make the $3,000 today? And when do you want to learn the skill of raising the capital and owning the asset?
Okay.
That's a different skill. It doesn't mean you can't make money in sub 2. Yes, I'm at this phase, but there was a long time in my phase that I was here. Where all I could think about was, I need the money today. And you know, when I figured this out, nobody taught me this. I had to go through years and years of owning that I'm like, wow, I'm making more money this way than I was on the cash flow. And then I look back on all my deals and I look back on them. I turned that down because only cash flowed $100. I turned that down because I was like, I will not do a deal without $500 a month of cash flow. Even when I launched Sub 2 3.5 years ago.
Are you talking to me right now?
Both of us. I'm talking to a prior version of myself. I would look at these deals and I'd say, well, if I have a good job that, like, let's say in the first month of owning this asset, your coffers have not built up enough.
Oh, bro, it happened to me.
Yeah, it happens.
I had an AC I had to replace.
$6,000. probably.
10,000.
Okay,
It was
$10,000.
almost 11,000, but you know what? Mama's got good credit.
Mom's got good credit, so she got a loan for it. But so I look at this and it is a long game. This is the long game. This is the game that gets you, this is how you get started.
Yeah.
How you get launched. And you do that for a couple of years. I did this longer than I should have.
I will say I'm very conservative on that. For all the properties I've had, I've not taken any out of them. Because I've only started buying them last 2 years. And so I just let the money accumulate. There's no reason for me to take any of this.
And people get emotional about it. Like, even there's this property in Sterling that I bring up all the time because it has a great story to it. I look at that, and last year it was worth $690,000, and today it's worth $620. But guess what? It makes $3,000 a month on Airbnb. What do I care? Equity comes, equity goes, but the cash will always flow. So as long as I have money coming in, and there's tenants in there that are taking care of 95% of the problems that are with the property, I'm good. And this is why I also think people should accumulate 20 or 30 rentals before they quit their job. Because your job will help you take care of the first, like, these things that pop up. But this is the guaranteed way for you to become a decamillionaire. Now, let's say I'm a decamillionaire. What do I then do? This is now the gangster strategy. Don't tell anybody this.
Invest in Sub 2 fund.
You could do that. What do?
You put things in a trust. Am I going in the right direction?
Here's what I would do.
Okay.
This is why I think Gator is so important, is because people should be learning how to lend.
Leverage, and you become the bank.
Yes.
Of course, you lend.
So think about this, Eric. So let's say that in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, how old are you going to be? 27? How old are you going to be?
In 10 years, I'll be 47.
Okay, you'll be 47. Let's say at 47, Eric has accumulated how many houses, Eric? In 10 years, how many houses have you accumulated?
20.
Okay, 20. How many properties will you have accumulated in the next 5 years? 20?
10. I don't know.
That's sissy, bro. 2 a year? Come on. You're too connected to the
So
source.
I'm on the side doing it, and I've collected 10 so far.
Okay.
So you can do that. You can do 10 in 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do 20 in 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do 20 in 5 years. So 20 in 5 years, and those 20, are going to turn into, by the time you're 47, each one of them is going to be worth, let's say, 178.
What's the average? Well, here, if you buy in Arizona, it's like at least 450,000.
You're going to have somewhere around $5 million in net worth. Okay, just from this. So what do you do with that $5 million that's tied up in those properties?
Depends on the interest rates. You could either do a cash out refi, or you could do potentially like a HELOC, or you could put liens against your property.
With private money?
Correct.
Okay, cool. So here's what I would do, and this is my big overall plan. I've been doing this for years, okay, and it's like starting to compound now. It's getting scary.
Obviously, cash out refis are subject to the market. HELOC, what's the difference between that and private money? Obviously,
a HELOC is from a bank. It's more locked in, lower interest rate, and you're not subject to somebody's feelings. A private money lender is a human, right? A HELOC is as clinical as it sounds. It's like, here's my application, give me my freaking money. The employees at the bank don't give a crap. A private money lender is like a traveling nurse that has 80 grand. It's like, Eric, don't lose my 80,000 bucks. Hey, Eric, you got my 80 grand? Yeah, dude, we have I'm not supposed to pay you back for 3 years. Why are you calling me? I'm just worried about my 80 grand. So you tell me what's the difference.
Yeah.
Which one do you want? HELOC, right?
Yeah.
So what I do is I don't want a HELOC or private money in those situations. I will put private money on some of my houses from time to time when I need to go buy another asset temporarily. But what I do is I will do a refinance. The last one I did was not that significant. It was in 2020. Interest rates were really low, so we were buying sub-2 deals in 2017, 2018, 2019 that were like 4% interest, okay? Interest rates drop in 2020 because of COVID. Cody and I go and refinance like 15 properties.
Everything you have, basically.
What do I have? I pulled out 1.9 million and Cody pulled out 1.9 million.
Taxes, cash.
Tax free. Why? Because it's not income, it's a debt. So I pulled
the loan.
Debt. It's a loan. Who pays the loan down?
Your tenants.
My tenants. So I get a new debt at a lower interest rate, so it continues to cash flow, maybe even better. A lot of our properties cash flowed better at 3%. Even when we refinance, we pulled a lot of money out. Now what can I do with this tax-free $5 million?
Go get a whole life insurance.
You could get a whole life insurance policy, and then what I would do with it, it's the most passive thing that you could ever do in life, is become the bank. Cody and I are currently lending. Our money is averaging 16%, and we're super conservative. So what's 16% of $5 million? This is your retirement plan. I just give you a full retirement plan. And it's easy to follow. It's a lot of numbers, but
It's $800,000 a year.
800,000. Could you live on $800,000 a year?
Easily.
Okay. So you have 5 million, but guess what else you have? You still have the 20 properties that are still cash flowing,
Still rolling in.
and are now being paid down by your tenants. 10 years later, guess what you do again?
Rinse
You
and repeat.
refi again.
Why am I better at this than other people?
Your stick to itness.
My stick to itness, my absolute raw energy.
Consistent, just over
I'm
and over.
so overwhelmingly I'm working in an overwhelming fashion. I can't do anything that doesn't have anything to do with money because I understand every minute of my life.
Right.
So there's the game plan. So for me, that's not my goal is not 5 million. My goal is like 250 million. And when I have $250 million, then I'll go, all right, cool. I'm going to donate all my property to my charity. The cash flow from all my properties will run all my like affordable housing charity stuff, but my $250 million will compound at 16%. My family's set for nothing any of my grandchildren can ever do could mess with my 16% at $250 million a year. My estate will go on forever. And I think I can get there by 51 years old. I think you can get there by 55. I mean, most people at $5 million at $800,000 a year.
It's amazing.
Here's the challenge though. Is $800,000 that special in 25 years from today? Welcome to life. You're gonna die working. Even if you hit this in 10 years, let's say, and you have $800,000 coming in, you all of a sudden now have to go, okay, now I'm 37, I'm 47, great, I'm making 800 grand a year, this is awesome. Well, by the time I'm 70, that 800 grand a year will feel more like $150,000 a year because of inflation. So you're not going to be able to just go to a beach and chill. You got to go, okay, what do I want my lifestyle to be like? Do I want my lifestyle to be $150,000 a year in 25 years? If so, great. Here's how you start. The number one thing you start at is what is the cost monthly and what can I bring in? What's my obligation and what's my opportunity? Obligation is $2,500. Opportunity is $3,300. Cool, I start there. That number is now $740. Perfect. In order for me to buy that $740 gross cash flow, how much does it cost me to get into that deal? That's all you have to do to underwrite a creative deal. I literally just told you the whole thing.
That's how my brain works. I look at the spread, and typical PML entry fees are going to be between $300 and $500. So if I don't have at least $800 to $1,000 in spread,
You're like, I can't make
then
it
I
work.
don't even look at it.
Yeah.
That's my rationale.
Yeah, other people are like breaking down spreadsheets. I'm like, y'all are overthinking it. It's literally what is my obligation to the seller? What's my opportunity? And then what's the spread? Okay, cool. The spread is $740. How much is it going to cost me to buy that spread? Is your entry fee. $55,800. How much is my entry fee going to cost me? It's going to cost me $372. Okay, great. Can I make that work based on what we calculate over here? The answer is yes. So Molly looked at that, and originally before Molly told everybody and Ingrid told everybody go restructure this, the deal wasn't making $3,800 or $38. It was losing $150.
Yeah.
So smart Subto community members are going back to non-community members and going, hey, you're dumb. Let us restructure this for you. And that's why that deal had to be restructured.
For someone like me. But even if you were losing $100 a month,
I would have still done the deal.
yeah, because you have enough properties.
I have enough of the positive to take in the negative, but I don't want to take on more negative.
No.
That's why Molly was like, no, we want everything positive. So what's more important to me about this $3,000 for you is you understanding the story of this deal. So you can get, who cares about the 3 or the 8 or the 19,800? Who cares about that? That was the bait to catch the next fish. And this is why I don't need to cold call anymore. It's because I tell the stories of my last deal that allows me to get the next deal. There you go. There's the video. You did a great job.